Convicted killer cook Erin Patterson will learn in 2 weeks the price she'll pay for that deadly mushroom lunch. Her sentencing scheduled after an emotional plea hearing. Live to Today Melbourne reporter Christina Hearn outside Victoria's Supreme Court. Chris, good morning to you. One of the killer's victims offered extraordinary forgiveness.
Carl, there were 7 victim impact statements that were read out here in the Supreme Court for the plea hearing. Pastor Ian Wilkinson decided to deliver his in person, confronting the very woman that took the life of his wife of 44 years, Heather. He said he feels only half alive without her, breaking down in tears before telling the court, "In regards to the many harms done to me, I make an offer of forgiveness to Erin. I bear her no ill will. My prayer for her is that she will use her time in jail wisely to become a better person. Now, I am no longer Erin Patterson's victim, and she has become the victim of my kindness." Erin Patterson's estranged husband, Simon, didn't turn up to court yesterday, but he did have a victim impact statement read out on his behalf. He spoke about the suffering of their children and the reality that everybody knows that their mother killed their grandparents. He said that it was a reality that they would have to struggle with for the rest of their lives.
So, Chris, what happens now?
Well, Justice Christopher Beale will consider all this testimony and he'll go away over the next 2 weeks before coming back here to the Supreme Court in Melbourne and handing down his sentence to the triple murderer. The prosecution, they are arguing for Erin Patterson never to be released from prison. They say that her offending was so cruel and so horrific. The defence is not arguing that Erin Patterson should receive anything less than a life sentence. However, they are arguing that one day she should be allowed to be released from prison on parole. And they mention some mitigating circumstances, including her conditions in prison, the fact that she is locked up for 22 hours a day for her own safety and that she can only socialise with one other inmate, a terrorist. And so far, she has chosen not to do so. Justice Beale did say that that was the most significant mitigating factor, and he, of course, will be considering all of this before handing down his sentence.
Christina Hearn, thank you.
At least 20 people have been killed, including 5 journalists, in an Israeli military strike on a hospital in Gaza, twice within 10 minutes. The second explosion hitting while rescuers were on the scene. That explosion was caught on camera and a warning the video is confronting.
لا حصل الآن خليك يا الله راح الدفاع المدني قتلوا الناس راح الدفاع المدني قتلوا الناس.
It is just horrific. Let's go live to our correspondent Jessica Millwood. Jess, Benjamin Netanyahu's office says it was, quote, a tragic mishap.
Sarah, good morning to you. That statement coming from Benjamin Netanyahu's office in the past couple of hours, saying Israel deeply regrets the strike and, yes, describing it as a tragic mishap. Nasser Hospital is the only hospital operating in the south of the Strip around Han Yunis. It is a very busy one and the journalists were operating at the hospital at the time. This attack has been condemned by a number of people, including Turkey's president, who says it was an attack on press freedom. Those journalists working for AP and Reuters, news organisations that supply vision around the world, including here to us at 9. The French president has said it is intolerable, while the US president, Donald Trump, has declared that there could be a ceasefire sooner rather than later.
I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have pretty good conclusive ending.
Making international headlines, the US resident who was wrongly deported to El Salvador has been taken back into custody with Immigration and Customs Enforcement only days after being released. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed ICE is processing Garcia for deportation to Uganda, but a court has intervened for now, keeping him in the US. A fire crew in France's northwest has run into trouble while trying to fill up their water-bombing helicopter, spinning out of control and crashing into a pond. The pilot and a firefighter were on board, amazingly managed to get out unharmed. Wow, incredible survival. And astronauts at the International Space Station have received a very big delivery. The SpaceX Dragon landing some hours ago, bringing 2.25 tonnes of supplies. Among 3D printing equipment and a rocket booster, the unpiloted cargo ship was also filled with 1,500 tortillas. The space station manager said flatbread is preferred in space because other types have too many crumbs, which float away. We don't want that.
A new scandal in the NRL is deepening today with the Sydney Roosters dragged into Rabbitohs player Brandon Smith's drugs probe. The investigation dating back to Smith's time with the Roosters earlier this year, with allegations he attempted to buy drugs while on a team golf weekend. It also involves a betting allegation which relates to claims Smith provided details of his first game with the Rabbitohs to a drug dealer. New video today of a car crash in Melbourne's southeast. Police say this Jeep lost control while turning onto a road in Toorak just before 6 p.m. on Sunday after it slammed through a tram stop, fence and power poles and erupted in flames. Footage shows the 45-year-old driver sprawled on the road surrounded by debris, but thankfully not seriously hurt.
It's unbelievable. A big win for workers today who've been granted new powers to ignore their boss out of hours. Today, federal politics reporter Liz Daniels keeps the phone off at night. Liz, good morning to you. Another 5 million workers are now covered.
The legal right to ignore the boss, Carl, but only within reason, so don't get too excited. These are the rules. Staff cannot be punished for reasonably ignoring after-hours calls, text messages and emails from the boss, but they may have to reply if the request is urgent. So where is the line? Well, bosses have to consider a few things, including stopping and thinking about the person's personal life, like, for example, are they off picking up the kids at this time, and also whether or not this staff member is actually paid to be on call. Carl, it's already applied to big businesses for a year now, and it will extend to small workplaces from today. Potentially some awkward conversations ahead.
Liz, thank you.
Well, security at the Adelaide Oval will ramp up for the qualifying final next Thursday. This as Melbourne Cricket Club is attempting to track down a spectator who allegedly shouted homophobic slurs at a Collingwood player on Friday night, the same player who was on the receiving end of Isaac Rankin's offensive spat. Dan Murphy's and BWS are ramping up their spending on security and equipment amidst staff safety concerns. The liquor stores seeing bouts of organised thefts, particularly of alcohol soft drinks, popular among Gen Z and millennials. Dan Murphy's even introducing body-worn cameras and virtual reality in an effort to protect its workers. A push is growing for Aussie men to be paid to donate sperm amid a shortage that's leaving IVF patients waiting years for a donor. Clinics are importing supplies from overseas as demand outstrips local donors.
A heartwarming moment for Robert Irwin in LA, spotting his dad's star on the iconic Hollywood Walk of Fame. The 21-year-old wildlife warrior making the special discovery while in Tinseltown for the US version of Dancing with the Stars.
How cool is that? That's so awesome. How good. That's so cool.
Russian tennis player Daniil Medvedev has kicked off the US Open this year by kicking up a real stink. Watch this clip from his first match last night.
First serve. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the delay caused by an offside interference, first serve has been granted.
And it's a first serve. You want to go home. He wants to go home, guys. He doesn't like to be here. He gets paid by the match, not by the hour. Yeah?
Ugly scenes. Needs to be careful here.
Oof, that poor racket. Nine's US correspondent Reid Butler has more for us now from Los Angeles. Reid, he got aggro, didn't he?
Oh, Sarah, 29-year-old acting like a 2-year-old. So Medvedev lost it after the umpire made a decision to award a first serve to his opponent, Benjamin Bonzi, because a photographer had accidentally walked out onto the court at match point. Medvedev didn't think it was a big enough interruption to warrant restarting the point. That is when he absolutely lost it at the umpire. He got the crowd, his fans in the crowd, to do the same too, and lots of lewd gestures that we're not even able to show here on TV. The racket smashing, it happened when it was officially all over for the Russian. I think my favourite part about all of this, though, Sarah, is his wife in the stand, Daria. She had her head in her hands and she actually walked out in shame midway through her husband's tanty.
How embarrassing. Oof. Took it too far, Reid. Thank you.